We're not talking about Universal. We're not talking about Disney. Longtime viewers of That Park Place and 2-3PO will know that we were talking about a story in which Matt We Met, the previous CEO of Cedar Fair, was calling out Six Flags on some of their practices. Remember, they removed, I think, 10% of their workforce. They started cutting down the number of executives that they had. There's been a lot of changes now with Six Flags having merged with Cedar Fair and the consequences that has for both guests and people working there. Well, he's back at it again. Here you go. More words from Matt We Met. From Attractions Magazine, former Cedar Fair CEO calls for change within troubled Six Flags. This is by Blake Taylor, October 15th, 2025. Matt We Met, former CEO of Cedar Fair, prior to the theme park company's merger with Six Flags and formerly president of Disneyland back in the day. Those were the days. Publicly shared guidance for the corporation he used to lead. Six Flags is currently in the process of selecting its next CEO following the recent resignation of Richard Zimmerman. As that process remains ongoing, quote, the company is troubled and has big decisions to make, We Met wrote in a LinkedIn post on October 15th, 2025. We Met hopes that Six Flags' board of directors overseeing the CEO selection is, quote, acknowledging reality and giving the new CEO an opportunity to retire some board members and replace them with people who have proven track records with analogous businesses and demonstrating leadership qualities that will make them strong thought partners.
God.
Very, very
A
interesting.
language, strong thought partners.
Well, it's Matt We Met right there, and he's
well, is he looking for another job somewhere, or are you just trying to piss off everybody who ever hired him?
This is a very
Nobody likes
interesting
I told
thing.
you so, Matt. Honest, you're done. Go away.
I'm not sure what's gone into what's happened to Matt We Met right there. I'm not sure, but he is very vocal and is very opinionated about how the company is run. And look, Nolan, please back me up right here. We've looked at the merger right here. We've seen a lot of things that we don't like. For example, King Dakar being permanently closed right there. That's no good. Hate that. We also heard of more big-time attractions being closed at Six Flags Magic Mountain over there in Valencia, California. I want to know from you, Nolan, is Matt We Met, does he have a point right here? Should he be expressing his opinion in this way? Your thoughts, please.
Well, I'm an interesting one to ask that kind of question too, because honestly, I would rather have someone in a position of power giving me the truth than selling me on a lie. Some people applaud. It's like, hey, there's certain things you can say to the public and there's certain things you can't. I would rather have them be blunt, even if it makes them look like a jerk, because would rather have them fixing the problem. Now, if they're not fixing the problem, they bring up the problem. They look even more incompetent than possible. Now, this guy right here, to his take, I can only speak from a guest side of things, and because I've been very, very happy with the Cedar Fair company for a very long time, and I just felt like they had just such a level of quality. Like some people, who aren't as familiar with the parks outside of, Florida or California, I tell you, some people I know have been sampling into Dollywood a bit more in recent years. Fitting time right here. And Cedar Fair, I feel, has the same level of quality with that. Ever since this merger, I feel like we just got all of Six Flags problems. And I thought this was supposed to be something that was going to make Cedar Fair theoretically better, make Six Flags better. Well, instead, it seems like what's happened is they've merged. Some people are going to get their golden parachute, and it's going to mean more closures and more problems for one of my favorite parks in the world, and the one that's probably closer to my heart than Disney. And that just really disappoints me. And if there's one thing I can say from the leadership level, I'm not even going to pretend to say I know how to fix all the problems of these companies, because there's a lot of problems now, as you could probably tell. But what I can say is they have failed in far as their guest relations when it comes to this merge, because when you do things such as just close King Dakar in the middle of nowhere without even a formal announcement, that is just, could you imagine if Disney was like one day like, hey, we're closing Expedition Everest or
just forever
Space Mountain. Yeah. And not even give a heads up about it. It'd be pitiful. Even Splash Mountain, we had a chance to ride it.
Yeah, I don't like that move at all. Now, I've been critical of how Disney has handled like Rivers of America's closing, for instance, and doing it on a day that a lot of annual pass holders couldn't actually attend that last day. Don't like that. But at least I told you, Erika, Six Flags, I don't know what is going on. But I kind of agree with Matt We Met. Like, this merger and what it has resulted in hasn't been great for guests and really hasn't been great for executives. Your thoughts, please, on all of this. Do you know what's going on in Six Flags? What are your thoughts on it, please?
They just need to get some people in there, I guess, to for one, clean your parks, maybe add some paint. Maybe,
Beautification, I think is what Celine
yeah, that,
Vasily
and
used to say.
maybe add some more theming. But then again, they're known more for an amusement park than they are a theme park. But I think people nowadays are kind of getting the two convoluted. They assume that they're in the same category when really they're not. Only us nerds know the difference.
Yeah, so Salim Basul, that's what he actually tried to do this when he became the CEO of Six Flags. This was before the merger, and he would call it. He would say stuff like beautification. He put out all these kind of crazy terms, but he would also like criticize people who he would call like Walmart patrons and so forth. Like, it was crazy what was going on right there. But he was trying to Chapek the parks back in the day when Chapek was actually the CEO of the Walt Disney Company right there. Very interesting stuff. And then the merger happened, and now Richard Zimmerman, he was the CEO of this combined entity, but now stepping away. Salim Basul stepping away as well. Look, we were hoping, Nolan, I know you can back me up on this, and Lou, I'm going to go to your next. We were hoping that the Cedar Point or Knott's Berry Farm or like the kind of quality-oriented mindset of Cedar Fair would rub off on Six Flags. And so he would be like, hey, look, listen, the things that we complain about Six Flags, let's go ahead and address those issues, bring up the entire chain, and good to go. We're not quite seeing that. And instead, we're seeing stuff that Six Flags has done, kind of inch its way into the kind of the Cedar Fair roster of theme parks right there. Lou, I want to know from you right here. Matt, we met. Does he have a point, or should he keep his mouth shut?
Is he going to write a book or something?
He keeps commenting. I don't know. It's so bizarre.
Point? He knows that all the people he's telling they're wrong are going to say, no, you were wrong. That's why we got rid of you. He knows nobody's going to listen to him. He's got to know that. He's not a fool, or at least not other than his ego, perhaps. He just can't stand not being in the spotlight, can he?
Wow.
And you know what my namesake said about that? He said, stay out of the spotlight. It'll fade your suit. Nobody asked him. Nobody wants him. He's had his wonderful career. He has all of his prestige. He should write a memoir and go away, period.
I mean, Nolan.
I mean, he's not going to influence anybody. All he's going to do is make them angry. And so net, isn't he smart enough to know that? Or does he just not care because, by God, he's going to be ornery?
I have deep respect for Matt Ouimet because I understand what he did for Disneyland back at the time when they desperately needed a Matt Ouimet to be in charge and to reinvigorate that theme park and so forth. Nolan, I want to go ahead and end it with you. If somebody doesn't advocate for the guest, or maybe even the executives, who will at this point? I mean, in a certain way, you can say, hey, Matt Ouimet's words might be helpful, at least to some, not all. Nolan, your thoughts, please.
Honestly, I don't really have anything against this dude. I really appreciate what he did with the Cedar Fair Company since 2011, 2012. I think, honestly, kind of like when Lucas sold Star Wars, I'm fine with him, opening up some criticisms and stuff like that. But I have to ask the question of, like, when you have to think about successor, at least with, like, Lucas, you can be like, oh, I thought it was going to go one way, and Bob Iger kind of duped me into selling the brand. This, it's like, dude, you had an opportunity to have a better future ahead for the Cedar Fair brand. And whenever he's complaining here, I hate to say it, because like I say, I respect the dude. You are just bringing more influence to your own failure here on how this merge was handled. And because can anyone on this panel name somebody they think would be good enough to fix the mess that is not just a Six Flags mess now, it's the Cedar Fair mess now? Is there anyone here who's iconic, who's been like a pioneer in the industry, who's going to save this company? Because every time I'm hearing a news story about Six Flags or Cedar Fair year after year, it's the shocking news is, I'd like to quote the great Lou Osterman's ghost right here, somehow it gets worse.
Ha! Well, there were how many, wait a minute, when this merger happened, there were how many Six Flags parks and how many Cedar Fair parks?
It was about 20 apiece, roughly.
Is it that many for Cedar Fair? I didn't realize they were as big as Six Flags.
Yeah, they were pretty big. They were pretty big, yeah.
It seems like rather than the Cedar Fair quality rubbing off on Six Flags, it's been the opposite, hasn't it?
It really does kind of feel that way, Lou. And that's, I think, why people they look at Matt Ouimet's words and they do publish articles about it because in a certain way he is right, and he is somebody who has kind of been at the top level right here, and so I think that's why people reacting to the story
as right as he can be By doing it this way, his influence is nil.
That's true.
And if
That's a good point.
he's smart enough to know that, or should be, and therefore it's his ego, not his desire to fix things, that's talking. That's the way I look at it.
Somebody in the chat actually asked this question right here from Bulldog9. What's a bigger mess, Disney or Six Flags? Six Flags, I think.
Six Flags.
Do you agree? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, I was saying in the chat, like Disney World, for all our criticisms, is still like the most profitable spot of the Walt Disney Company. It's one of the most profitable like things in America. Six Flags, have they even been all that profitable since Dan Snyder messed up everything, Vash?
I think their last earnings report came out and like their attendance was down and their theme park spending was down, which is usually the kiss of death. And they also said like 90% of their income was coming in from like a couple of parks in the chain, which means like all the other ones are basically dead weight. And so what happens to those parks when you think about like, hey, do we have to close them? Do we have to rebrand them? Do we have to invest more in them? Like they're in a bad way. On top of that, they're talking about like selling the land out beneath their theme parks.
Which they've already done.
Theme parks.
They've already done it.
It's like, oh my goodness, like you're giving me.
Vash, I sure hope that they tear down the amusement parks and replace it with overpriced rental properties. I sure hope they do that.
Here's a question. Here's a question. If
Please.
fewer and fewer people are going to Orlando because of the expense of going to Disney, and fewer people are interested in spending that kind of money, and although the price of gas is down, the price of airline travel is not, why shouldn't these parks that are closer to people to drive to be doing better just as an alternative?
You would think so, and that's kind of
They
the weird
must
thing
really
about this.
suck is the answer to that question.
Right. And that's Nolan, you remember, right? I think in like 2022, if I'm not mistaken, like all of the amusement chains out there, Universal, Disney, SeaWorld, or Busch Gardens, or I should say, I think it's United, I think is what they're called. And Cedar Fair, they were all doing gangbusters business. The only one not was Six Flags. And it was like, how is that possible? It's impossible to do that because if every other brand is doing well, no matter what they're doing, you clearly have to be doing something wrong. Go ahead, Nolan.
Well,
You think it would be them because they have the most amount of parks. Go ahead, Luke.
Except at least in Valencia with Six Flags Magic Mountain, a great deal of their attendance problem was people feeling unsafe because there were gangs and all kinds of scary violence at Six Flags there. And they didn't clean it up right away. And they didn't put the stop to it right away. And it only got worse. And people said, I'm not going there. I'm going to get beat up or robbed or hassled. And I'm sure as hell not taking my kids.
So it turned into the ghetto park and it's got a ghetto reputation.
And yet it's sitting there in the middle of Valencia, which is hardly a ghetto, you know. So.
And the parks are dirty.
Yeah.
It's reality.
Like Adventure Island in Tampa. Nope.
If it looks like if your park
I will
looks
not
more
go
like
again
Walmart,
after the last time I went.
If your park more looks like a Walmart for the wrong side of town or a McDonald's where you're kind of afraid you're going to get shot at, I'm sorry. That's not a theme park worth going to.
No.
Well, and Salim had a couple of comments in that direction talking about the clientele that would frequent Six Flags and how he's like, oh, we got to get them out of there. We got to get out the freeloaders because people are buying into meal programs, dropping the kids off. I mean, it was a whole
babysitting.
Deal. Oh, it was really something. But remember, Six Flags used to be part of Time Warner back in the day, and they inherited a lot of debt, not just with that whole thing, but also when they were spun off, they made a bunch of both acquisitions and investments that just accrued all of this debt. And so Cedar Fair comes in here, merging with them. They are taking that on as well. Then they have interest payments that they have to look out for, and it's like I think it was a bigger financial mess than I think Cedar Fair initially.
They didn't do enough due diligence into the finances before they made the deal, and exactly fighting him.
I was optimistic about this merger, and now after having seen what's happened to the Six Flags and well, really Cedar Fair parks and so forth, I'm just I'm not as enthusiastic about this whole thing. But hey, you know what? Hopefully Six Flags can get it together. I understand that they had tremendous pressures going in, and the market has changed. Really, it's not really a great theme park market right now. Hopefully that will improve on all fronts, at least for Six Flags.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.